exocrine pancreatic insufficiency, cystic fibrosis, chronic pancreatitis, ulcerative proctitis, proctosigmoiditis, ulcerative colitis, Crohn's disease. If you've heard any of these words from your doctor before, you probably know this look and this feeling. First Wave Biopharma is a clinical stage biopharmaceutical company specializing in the development of targeted, non-systemic therapies for gastrointestinal diseases. Using frontline cutting-edge research, First Wave Biopharma is here to help you have less of this and more of this. First Wave Biopharma.
You're watching America Trends. I'm Mary Burke Godwin, here in my pink top representing National Breast Cancer Awareness Month. And we have a special guest zooming in, Deb Song, Senior Director of Susan G. Komen. Deb, before the break, we were talking about, the various places that the funding goes. When we're out there raising money, when it's donated on the website or through your various fundraising efforts, through the annual walk, More Than Pink walk that happens. And I believe that, I don't know how many cities that happens in. How many cities are you in now?
So we're in about 50 plus cities, and we also have a 3-day series where people do an endurance walk over 3 days.
3 day, yes, of course. Yeah. Which I have not done. I've thought about it many times. It usually conflicts with something in my life, and I think, okay, I'm going to do that next year. But one of these days I will do that. But let's talk about, the places in which the funding goes. I know that you have a very rigorous breakdown of where all the funding goes to.
Yeah. So a lot of the funding goes towards research itself, looking at breast cancer research, everything from looking at new drug therapies to oral therapies, as well as some of the bigger issues around breast cancer, around financial toxicity, health equity, really funding world's renowned researchers around breast cancer, as well as diagnostics. We also look to provide funding for programs and services to provide help to those who are dealing with breast cancer now and living with metastatic breast cancer, individuals like myself who really need that assistance, whether it's in financial assistance, screening and diagnostics, as well as ongoing care and patient navigation. As you know, when you're diagnosed with breast cancer, it can be very scary. It's also a very complex health system, so navigating that can be quite difficult. So we do have individuals who are on staff who help thousands of individuals across the U.S. in navigating very complex systems.
Because that would be, sorry for interrupting, but that would be anything from figuring out which doctors you need to go to, because there's the oncologist, then you have to get screened, and then I don't know all the different things that are involved. And then also you have to navigate your insurance company, which is a whole headache in and of itself, right?
Yes. So through the, Breast Cancer Helpline, the nation's only helpline, we're able to provide that type of guidance as well as to information to local services as well. So that's a lot of where the funding goes to. And then a big piece of it is also looking to make systemic changes so we can alleviate some of the financial stressors and out-of-pocket costs that come with getting diagnosed and ongoing treatment and screening.
So that would that be considered lobbying in DC for changes to healthcare?
Yes, working with legislators, senators to really kind of help sponsor key bills and local, federal, and state legislative changes as well.
Wow, that's amazing. Now, I know that from my time working with Susan G. Komen, I worked with the team here in San Diego on their social media marketing, because I was at an agency, and it was my favorite client. I just loved it. I loved my contact there, and it was just it's such a feeling of fulfillment, working for Susan G. Komen. But I do remember there was quite a lot of times when people would come on social media to dig and say, all the money is being stolen and your CEO makes this much money. And there was all these myths that kind of were circulated and perpetuated on social media. So I wanted to give you a moment to talk about, are there any myths that are still out there that you wanted to dispel, or things that you wanted to speak to directly?
I think those are all valid questions that people ask, especially of all nonprofits, whether you're American Heart Association or Alzheimer's Association, that sort of thing. Where the dollars go are really critical. There are individuals, including our CEO, who is a breast cancer survivor, who's really focused on providing as much of the dollar towards the mission work that we're doing. We are the only breast cancer organization in the entire world that is focused on this 360 approach, looking at providing direct patient care services and programs, funding the most amount of research compared to any other organization, including second only to the US government, and really making systemic policy changes as well. When we're looking to fundraise, especially peer to peer, there is some dollars that have to go to those operational costs, but we keep it at a very small minimum. But these are very important questions that people need to ask because they're donating their dollars and they want to know where those dollars are going. But I can reassure, as again, I'm a breast cancer survivor myself, working on the other side, working with a lot of researchers in my past career before I even went through breast cancer. The biggest funder in breast cancer research is Susan G. Komen. So your dollars are going towards
Are
research.
going to the right place. I'm glad that you had a moment to share that, and I think that was really important. We really tried to get that across when I was working with them in posts on social media, and it's just, I agree that it's important for people to know that. I just wish there weren't other people out there kind of slamming and slandering without knowing the facts, but so that's why you're here. And then I wanted to have you talk about that moment, when, if and when someone's diagnosed, they kind of sit with the shock and the fear, and then what is that would you suggest them calling that first helpline that you mentioned? What's the first step that somebody should take, in your opinion?
Wow, I can speak from a personal standpoint. I know, like, even though I had 20 plus years working in healthcare, especially working on breast cancer research and stories, specifically with other patients, all the signs were there for myself, right? And it was still a shock. It's extremely emotional and it's hard. And you just don't know who to speak to sometimes and how to tell your family, your loved ones. So I personally called the helpline myself, and it was extremely helpful to have someone on the other end to really kind of talk you through it and also provide you with resources of individuals you can speak to. Your doctors who diagnose you, like your radiologists and your care team, they can only provide you with the news, but the emotional support you might need and also more information, it's tough, right? And so it was really helpful to have Susan G. Komen in a time that was really scary. So I do encourage individuals to reach out, and as well as family members, because I remember when I told my family, you know, you put on your brave face, all of those things, but they're going to have a lot of questions as well. And this is what this resource is for.
And it's important in life, I feel like, to know that you can ask for help, and it's not a sign of weakness. It's actually a way to help yourself, help other people, whether it's you struggling or your loved one. We all could help each other, right? And that's what you're here for. So thank you so much for joining us today. Deb Song, Senior Director at Susan G. Komen, and people can go to komen.org and they can donate right there on the website, correct?
Yes, they can.
Okay, great. Or you can get out there and go do the 3-day walk or the More Than Pink walk. Get your friends, get some pink on, get some exercise, and help support this amazing cause. I appreciate you so much, Deb. Thank you so much for what you do. And stick around for more America Trends right after this quick break.